So today's guest is Dr. Joan, who is a leading trauma therapist in Canada with over 15 years experience in treating depression, anxiety, PTSD, and other trauma-related issues. She's the founder of Becoming Inc. and Village of Peace. Both organizations work in different capacities to promote the mental health and well-being of individuals, couples, and families. She holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing from Western University with expertise in mental health promotion. In addition to that, she is trained as a trauma recovery therapist with a keen focus on repairing the lasting negative effects of domestic and interpersonal abuse. So, Dr. Joan, thank you very much for being on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Dresco. It's so nice to meet you, and I'm so excited about the work that we're going to do today.
Likewise, right? Especially having somebody like yourself who brings such a depth of not just like knowledge and expertise, but also like real world experience of working with, so many different types of clients. So I'd love for you to just give us the context of like how you got to doing what you're doing, what brought you here today. Floor is yours for that.
Yeah. Before I became a therapist, I was a professor at a university, and my program of research was mostly around shaping an intervention that would help people overcome trauma, not just kind of reduce symptoms, which nurses are used to kind of doing, but to actually resolve those symptoms altogether. So I went on my own healing journey as part of that process, moved through healing, saw different techniques as I did that, formed what I call now Becoming Therapy, which helps people to not only overcome the pain, but then move through a transformation process. And that's been just a powerful experience to not only move through myself, but then also see other people move through it on a daily basis.
Beautiful. So it aligns with something that comes up very often on the podcast and with my clients, which is like this whole, like my mess becomes my message, right? That this whole sentiment of I've gone through the ringer
Yes.
for myself. Now I want to pass on that experience, that knowledge, that part of my being onto others so they can go through their own transformation or even avoid it altogether. So I always love when that comes up because it's so in tune with my own story and other people's stories. So
well, we're all helping each other to heal, right? And at the end of the day, if you can't heal yourself, then really all you do is bump into other people, but that bumping into them is without really a purpose and an intention. So once you move through your own healing journey, it's very intentional, right? And through your own painful experiences, there are these micro messages that then you amplify towards yourself, but then you can share it with others. And so that's one of the things that I really enjoy about my job.
100%, right? I always say like your capacity to help others is only limited by your capacity to be able to go there within yourself. So 100% resonance with that. So on that note, that I'd love to dive into like, what is your business right now? Like, I know you mentioned the two organizations that you have. So describe a little bit more of that and we can get into what challenges you're experiencing with those.
Yeah, so I'm 7 years into my psychotherapy business. So well established, both in terms of honing the craft, but then also having now a wait list of clients. I've actually reduced the number of days that I work to 3 days because I now actually want to have some, what do we call it, passive income. So I have a forgiveness journal, and I have my book that I've written is called 490 Forgive and Live Fearlessly. So the forgiveness journal is kind of like the next step in terms of creating the passive income. So funnels, I don't really get it. Like that's part of my challenge is that I'm very intuitive and I can move forward on certain things, but some of the marketing pieces, some of those skills, they kind of escape me. So now that I'm leveling up, I'm going to be putting some funds into advertising, Facebook, YouTube, those sorts of things, right? So that's one element. In the next phase of my journey, I want to bring my message out. So I actually have what I call the Becoming Beautiful I Am. It's a TV show that I actually want to do. So not only do I want to earn funds, as a passive income, but I want to earn funds so that I can now put that into doing some of these bigger projects that I want to do. You see the peace sign, you might not be able to read the peace sign, but the peace sign is behind me. I have a bigger message, and that is world peace as well. So the Village of Peace was formed as a not-for-profit. I also want some funds to funnel into there. And the not-for-profit is really all about, it's about three things. It's about creating a curriculum that starts K to post-secondary that really talks about the atrocities that our world and our humanity has experienced. So we're talking the wars, we're talking the genocides, we're talking the racial, dialogues that we've created that doesn't really exist. And so how do we actually get rid of that other than speaking to the younger generation? So I'm developing a curriculum that will then push through that message for the next 30 years. So I got a lot of stuff that I want to do essentially, and no money to do it. That's and then my biggest challenge, I think, is, so I'm trying to normalize a well-qualified, capable people who know their roles and play them well and can focus on the goal as opposed to constantly trying to build relationship, So if you know how to do relationships, you just do it, right? Rather than these conflicts and these bumping into. So I want to build a team magically that is just capable and able, not only on a doing job sort of level, but just on doing relationship, so that work is fun, the team is fun, we're flexible, we're constantly creating, and we're just doing the job, right? So that's kind of where I want to go. Before, my teams have always kind of started and then they disappear really quickly, mostly because I discover people are just kind of here for themselves, so I have a bad habit of, as soon as you show me that you're not really here for the goal and the vision, then I kind of just disconnect, which is still my growth area, but that's where I am, and I want to be honest about it. So I want to normalize and bring in that team that is so emotionally strong, so healed, because I just want to get the job done. And maybe that's a part of my healing too. But I just feel okay, I'm at that point where it's I'm ready, let's go, right? So that's kind of where I am at. I have, as part of becoming, the next phase of the journey is I also want to teach nurses and other healers in the community to do what I do. It's very powerful, very effective. And nurses right now can do therapy, but they always have to branch off and go off into another field or discipline in order to do that. I didn't have to do that. I created something. Nurses can learn it. And so now I want to market to nurses. Is that too much? I hope it's not too much.
I mean, this is just a little list of little projects that you have going on, it's just of course, I just want to, have world peace, just a little simple problem like that. So yeah, no, not at all. No, I mean, all jokes aside, I first and foremost want to commend you on the vision and the joy that you bring to the vision, because it's extremely palpable to me, and I'm sure for everybody else listening. So what I want to just reflect back or maybe prompt you to do going forward is okay, especially with regards to the container of today, we can't obviously dive into everything, but there's a few things that you mentioned on here, right? So it's I don't really like the funnels. I'm more intuitive. So I don't I know there's some potential there, but I don't really know where to go with that.
Yes.
I want to earn this passive income so that I can do the bigger projects I'm involved in, right?
Yes.
So, and a big part of the themes of everything you described is I have all these big visions, but I don't have the funds and the capital to actually do it. Yes. And then there's also the aspect of then the teaching nurses what I do. So it's another aspect of the business. And there's also the team building business or aspects.
Yes.
Out of all of those, because there's 5 or 6 different things there, what is the one that's most relevant to you right now?
I think in order to push ahead in the way that I'm desiring, I need to build a team.
Okay. And what are your challenges with regards to building a team?
I need a strategy for hiring the right people.
Okay. So you've hired people before. What went wrong?
So mostly I haven't hired before. It's mostly been developing collaborative kind of relationships. What went wrong? Typically, and I've been trying to overcome this. So I've been trying to do the inner work to figure out what's inside of me that's actually attracting this. But typically I start off thinking, great, this person, knows their craft, seems enlightened. So we can do good work together. And then along the way, I discover, oh, that person is just really kind of off doing their own thing. They're not really actually with me, So after that, I just kind of go, okay, that didn't work. That's part of your, I forget which, I watched the module, but I can't remember which, self-sabotage, maybe. But I tend to, as soon as I see that, I kind of move away.
Okay. So they know their craft, they're enlightened, but then they're not actually with me. So
Yeah.
tell me more what you mean by like they know the craft, they're enlightened. Like, what do you mean by those pieces?
They seem to be healed. They seem to have moved through a transformation process. So typically, when you are in that space, you tend to be more neutral. You tend to focus. It's about the goal, right? It's not about me so much anymore. And I guess as soon as I see the me kind of activities, then I kind of go, okay, maybe I was wrong. And then I just kind of push off in a different direction.
Okay. And why is it important that they're healed and have moved through a transformation process?
Well, I guess I'm wanting to be in a space where it can just be about the goal. And if I think when, we get to a space of healing, you're making me think a little bit, but when we get to a space of healing, we each have that message that we want to bring. And then as the message, co-align or align together, I think it's easier to build something and then remain focused on that thing as opposed to here, constantly looking at one another, what you have, what don't I have. It reduces jealousy, reduces competition, envy, all of those things that crash things, right? So I'm speaking a language now. I'm noticing I'm speaking the language that comes out of a 10-year-old trauma moment when my brother was hit by a car. So when those crashes come, like I just kind of, I just like, I don't want to be there, right? So I tend to avoid the crashes or the cars coming at me, as that's just something that I'm aware of. So when those hairs on the back of my head begin to raise, the car is coming, then I tend to just get out of the way. And that usually means that I just kind of kindly tell the person, hey, something's come up and I'm going to move in a different direction.
Okay, interesting. So thank you for sharing that. So there's a few different directions that we can take this. So let's just kind of see where it goes. So just to bring it back before the realization about the crashes, you were talking about, okay, you want these people to be more self-actualized essentially, so that we don't get this drama in the way of kind of keeping the goal, right? Like this is the mission, this is the message, we need to all get together around this. Yes. And you said the reason you want people that are healed, that have done the work, is so that like the conditions can be most applicable to that happening. Yes. So can people never have done the work also keep aligned to the message and be on the same page and on the same team?
That would be very interesting to see.
It would be, but I ask about the possibility. Is it possible that somebody who's never done the work to the depth that you've done it, or even close to it, actually be somebody who would be on point with the message, believe in it, execute good work?
That's so hard to imagine
Why?
because we all have a trauma, at least three.
I agree with you. Fundamentally, I agree with you, right? But the
Yeah,
question was, can somebody who hasn't healed their trauma, isn't aware of it, whatever their circumstances are, they haven't done the work, can they honor, stay on point with regards to a message, be part of a team, be excited about the vision if they've never done the work?
I know you want me to say yes, but I don't think so.
I actually have no, like, it's your experience, right? I don't have a right or wrong answer. So it's whatever
Yes.
it is. So if the answer is no, then why not?
Because I think we all have to do the work, or else we all get in each other's way.
Perfect. So if you were to turn that around and replace we or they with I, what would that sound like?
Because I have to do the work so we can get the work done. So yeah, I can get the work done.
Right. Does that feel as true or truer than the original statement?
It feels as true.
Okay. So that's interesting. They have to do the work so that we can kind of get this done. Is
We,
as true as I need to get the work. Like I need to do the work so I can get this done.
for sure, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think that's as true? Or put another way, why do you think the projection was there?
Well, certainly I've seen how other elements of my trauma experience have gotten in the way before. So there is that personal history. Certainly seen the ways other people's traumas have gotten in the way before. So I don't exclude myself from the work. It's something I think we all have to do.
Also agreed. And what I would reintroduce now is the sentiment you said with the crashes and everybody, like the cars coming, I don't want any crashes.
Yeah.
I interpreted that as metaphorically like drama. Like I don't want any drama getting in the way of the mission. So number one, is that accurate? How you interpret it?
Yeah. Drama, interruptions, yeah, people getting hit, that sort of thing.
Beautiful. So if we now rewind and look at your original, let's just say, quarrel with teams, right? I need people that are healed. I need people that are enlightened. I need people that know their craft, that have done the work.
Yes.
Because those are the people most likely to avoid the crashes in the drama that is likely to come with it. The reason I don't want anybody who hasn't done the work is they're more likely to bring the drama and then get in the way of the mission, right? There is a big sentiment of I need perfectly saint-like people that are going to come and work for me, that are going to be so fully aligned with my vision that there's never going to be any room for other perspectives or conflict, or the messiness of being human. And those are the only people that are good enough to work for the grand vision that I have.
Mm.
So how does all of that land for you?
How true is that? On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 6 or a 7.
Beautiful. So what's true about it and what's not?
Well, I know we're not perfect. I know we're not saints. But all I want is peace. I don't like drama. I like, I'd like a team that, can be excited about creation and excited about getting along and excited about having their own vision within a larger vision. I think peace is the ultimate vision that we all have. So I want a team that I think vibrates at a really high level, because it's not just about agreeing with me, but it is about coming into agreement, right?
Yep, I agree. So is ultimate peace the result of a complete absence of any crashing and conflict, or is it the finding of peace within the spectrum of those things?
I mean, we're evolving, right? So we evolve towards peace. We're evolving at different times and, within different spaces. I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of that evolution and bringing others along. So even as I'm thinking about the school curriculum, right? You're going to have some students who move along and engage in self-healing very young.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have some who resist it till they're in their 30s. Still others who resist it till they're in their 50s. Still others who will die and never engage in self-healing. Does that mean they can't participate in a peace journey? I don't have the answer to that, but I certainly wouldn't want to exclude them.
So beautiful answer, very well articulated. What I find interesting is that your brain went there because the original question was, do we find peace amongst the absence of crashes and conflict, or do you find peace inside of that and transcending that? Right? And your brain went to this beautiful explanation of the evolution of peace and who I may or may not work with. So in fact, I re-ask you the same question again, what will your answer be?
Yeah, we all do it together.
Do what together?
Healed or unhealed, right? We all do it together.
Perfect. And can peace exist with the existence of conflict?
So you make me go to a different place. And that's what Martin Luther King, he talked about. I'm going to use the wrong word, but it's kind of like true peace and false peace, like false peace is that we're going to pretend that everything is all great, but then below the surface, it's like, we don't talk about the conflicts. We don't try to make it different. We just it's under the rug, right? And then he talked about true peace being a progression. Like there's conflict, there always is, but you're constantly noticing where there's a need for compassion, where there's a need for mercy, where there's a need for justice, and you reframe, reshape until you eventually get there, hopefully get there to peace, right? So as I think about that and your question, so we get there together, unhealed, progressively, but noticing the right things.
And how does that relate to your team situation?
Same thing.
So if you can elaborate it more, like tell me more what you mean by same thing.
So I think now, if I think about it, I'd want a team that envisions peace, envisions exactly, you're buying into a project and the goal and the vision and the mission. So I think if there are folks on the team that at least buy into that, we start from there. And wherever they are, we work through it. however far along the journey that they may be.
So it seems like the original sentiment of like somebody who's unhealed, hasn't done their trauma work, would not work in my team. Now it seems like there's opening up space that they might actually fit somewhere because that is the path towards peace.
Yeah, because I think when you focus on the crash versus focus on the vision, right? Then you want people, if you focus on the crash, you don't want people who are going to, you know, come and cause a crash. But if you focus on the vision, then you want people who are focused on peace and focused on whatever else the vision looks like, right? So rather than think to myself that the enlightened don't cause crashes, right, which is a false assumption anyways, right, then the idea is to not focus on the crash, but to who wants peace, who wants to build for peace, who wants to project in that direction, right?
100%. And that's what was coming up for me while you were sharing all of these pieces, right? It's like I've created this internal criteria and this internal filter that is optimizing for the complete elimination of any sort of crashes, drama, these triggering things for me, right? Because there's a part of me that still doesn't like that kind of crashing, conflicting energy. So the way that I create the filter for the team then is everybody just has to be divine and perfect so that never arises, right? But as you know, like that is completely unrealistic with the messiness of humans. I would say, especially if they have done the work, because then like their brain will conflate all of these things into something else. Like it may actually get messier because of that aspect. You know what I mean?
Never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like sometimes the person easiest to take along the journey is somebody who's absolutely new versus somebody who's been on it a lot. Sometimes they have much more intelligent defenses than not. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So right, like it's a give and take, and it's by no means binary, but it's a possibility.
Yes.
Right? But it seems to me the big friction point for you internally, especially like if you want to look at it from the intuitive perspective of like, how do I energetically attract the people that need to come to me?
Yeah.
Energetically, you're trying to like, attract divine beings who are not human, that are absolutely perfect and will never cause harm.
Damn
But the
it,
reality is
angels don't exist,
they don't, right? So yeah, you got to work with humans if you want a team. And as you know, humans are quite messy, right?
Yes.
So how does all of that land for you?
Very good. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Beautiful. So in that case, like, does that feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding?
Complete.
Beautiful. Well, I'm glad that that's the case. So in that case, if you want to just kind of summarize it in your own words, like what was your experience kind of coming into this, and then what did you want to bring into it? And then what are your highlights and kind of takeaways from our conversation today?
Well, I set an intention before I came on. The intention was something like, you read the book, The One Thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I wrote it this way. I want to know the one thing that if I do that, then it makes all the other things, it eliminates, a whole bunch of steps, or, reduces the workload altogether. So I'm glad we went in this direction, because I know the next step is really about building the team. But then have in your mind what the right team is going to be. And I think what you helped me to do in this very short space of time was really kind of bring down some walls that I had created, which really were filtering out, those bad experiences of the past and not wanting to see them again in my present, but really looking at shifting the focus, So I always say to my clients, where you focus is kind of like what you create. So I think you helped me to focus on my peace sign and not focus on, my 10-year-old moment when my brother was hit by a car, and to then say, okay, so even the crashes have purpose, right? Because I wouldn't be here today talking to you about peace unless that moment had happened, right? And so I guess being able to see that and then evolve it through, okay, now staging how I hire people and how I think about them, and how I even receive them into the team. So now that I'm able to kind of focus on that vision, I build my team around who coalesces around that vision as opposed to who has done the healing work. Because at the end of the day, we can help people heal, right? But if you don't have the vision on peace and I have to build that for you, it's a difficult job, right? So so that's where I came.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for summarizing it in such an eloquent way. Definitely an honor to be able to, guide you wherever it is that it took us. So I'm happy to be able to facilitate that. So why don't you just close us off then with let everybody know where they can find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for all that.
Yeah, so my website is drjoan.ca. On Instagram, it's at Becoming Beautiful I Am. And my website for my book is The Art of Letting Go. So you can find me in any of those spaces. You can reach out to me if you have a desire to be a part of a team that is looking to build a village of peace. If you are wanting to do some healing work, you can find me as well. If you're wanting to learn how to do some really cool stuff called Becoming Therapy, you can find me on any of those avenues as well.
Beautiful. Love it. We'll include all of those in the show notes. So Dr. Joan, thank you very much for coming on. And for everybody else, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.